Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for an MP webinar, Hiring 2022, Broadening Your Candidate Pool. I'm Katie Kreider, Marketing Specialist here at MP. For those of you joining us on a webinar for the first time, MP is a full-service human capital management company. We offer a complete suite of products and services to support organizations through the entire employee lifecycle, including recruiting, HR, payroll, benefits administration, time and attendance, and compliance assistance. We support our clients with cutting-edge technical solutions, as well as proactive, reliable service and deep HR and payroll expertise. At MP, we are wired for HR and help our clients succeed by aligning their people strategy with their business goals. I'm excited to introduce your presenters for today's program, Sheri Heller and Sarah Speranza. Sheri is a SHRM and PHR certified HR partner here at MP. She has over 20 years of experience in employee relations, training and development, strategic planning, and policy development. Sheri earned a Master of Education in Instructional Design from UMass. She spent many years in retail management prior to getting into HR, which provides her with a unique business focus to human resources. Sarah is a SHRM certified HR partner at MP, providing HR support to businesses of all sizes in a variety of industries. She assists business owners and managers at all levels of the organization in developing and implementing optimal HR infrastructure. Sarah has her bachelor's degree in psychology and business administration from the University of Texas at Austin, and continued her studies in human resource management at Chaplin College in her home state of Vermont. She has experience across HR, specializing in talent acquisition, engagement, DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and wellness. Just a few housekeeping issues before we get started here today. If you would like to submit a question during the program, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. We will be sending out the recording of the webinar later today, along with the slides. And with that, I'm going to hand the mic off to Sarah.
Thank you, Katie, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for joining us today. I just want to start out with our usual brief legal disclaimer. Though we'll be talking about various employment laws today, this training is really for educational and informational purposes only. We do not want you to misconstrue any of this as legal advice. We always recommend that you speak to an employment attorney for any legal advice. With that being said, let's jump in. We're going to start by reviewing the presentation topics, and as you can see, we have a lot to cover today. I'll be talking about some hiring challenges specific to 2022 and how you can tap into underutilized candidate pools that qualify for tax credits, such as military veterans, workers with criminal records, and workers with disabilities. Then I'll be turning it over to Sheri, and she'll discuss hiring older workers, finding more candidate sources, and various candidate sourcing tips. All right, so in 2022, innovative talent recruitment strategies are crucial, as we all know. And, making a bad hire is usually costly. It can be even more financially damaging now. The job market is really challenging to navigate at this moment in time, and businesses continue to face recruiting and hiring challenges in the second year of an unprecedented labor market. This is all illustrated by record level turnover, job openings, increased stress, and significant changed candidate expectations. So together, these concerns can really drive costs for employers. But, where there's great challenge, there is also great opportunity. So we're now seeing hiring teams looking at different sourcing channels and rethinking requirements for roles. So if your company can invest in the hiring team, kind of rethink their candidate pool, it's a great opportunity. Today, we're going to dig into how employers can broaden this candidate pool and tap into underutilized talent and get some other resourceful hiring tactics. So if you're continuing to face serious hiring challenges in 2022, you are definitely not alone. According to a 2021 survey by Willis Towers Watson, 73% of companies are having difficulty attracting employees, and 70% expected this to linger into 2022. Retaining employees, it was just as challenging, with employers saying 61% of them are having a hard time keeping workers. So what's an employer to do? If you're still kind of recruiting and posting openings on job boards the way you did in the past, it's time to start exploring other avenues. And in order to tap into different talent pools, we first want to be able to identify transferable skills. According to a recent study released by Monster, 95% of workers surveyed are considering changing jobs. So while 92% said they were willing to switch industries to do so. Therefore, if you're struggling to fill open positions, developing a program to attract and reskill those workers who are changing careers could definitely expand your talent pool. Fortunately, you don't need to start from scratch when you're hiring people who have chosen to change career paths. Instead, you kind of want to focus on attracting candidates who have strong transferable skills across those industries. So some of these key skills to look for include, but are not limited to, problem solving, teamwork, communication. I think those are all ones we focus on regularly. And then thinking about things like leadership. And so even if they're not in a leadership role, it can also be very vital for all employees across your organization, because leadership skills can contribute to that employee's ability to, take the lead on projects or get a team on the same page and delegate when needed or see a project through to completion. And then we want to think about adaptability. Obviously, those who are adaptable and flexible, they'll be able to pivot and learn new skills when needed. And as your business grows, changes, and evolves, and then hopefully be able to maintain that positive attitude while ensuring goals are still met. And then lastly, technology literacy, which we all know is more and more important each day. If you don't want to teach your next hire the basics, you can look for candidates who have experience with common business tools and technology. And that should easily integrate into your business function. Similarly, if your organization is embracing more digital tools, it's also important that your candidate is comfortable learning new technologies and software to improve efficiency and evolve with your organization. All right, so if you're looking for hardworking, motivated, ethical employees, try hiring a US veteran. Veterans are disciplined team players that can bolster your employer's business. And what's more, hiring veterans is not only a good idea, it can be really good for business. Let's take a look at why veterans can positively impact your workforce. So numerous articles from many recognized business leaders endorse hiring veterans as a good business practice. And why is that? Well, veterans bring the following attributes and characteristics to the workplace. And, a lot of these are things that can be hard to find. And some of those include proven leadership and leadership readiness. So the military trains people to lead by example, as well as through direction, delegation, motivation, and inspiration. And they understand practical ways to manage behaviors for results, even in trying circumstances. I'm not going to dig into any of them or all of them. Teamwork, of course, as well, but they also have a respect for procedures, which can be hard to come by, right? So veterans have gained a unique perspective on the value of accountability often, and they can grasp their place within the organizational framework. And so that can really help with becoming responsible for subordinates' actions or higher supervisory levels. And they know how policies and procedures enable your organization to exist rather than just being something on paper. And they can also be adaptable and immediate contributors. So, they have proven ability to learn new skills and concepts, and they can enter the workforce with those transferable skills that you're looking for, and then back those up with their proven real world situations. Technology and globalization is also a big one that we might not often think about. So, Because of their experiences in the service, veterans are actually, usually very aware of international and technical trends pertinent to business and industry. And they can bring a kind of global outlook and technology savvy that a lot of companies of any size need to succeed. And then just a few more. So strong performance under pressure can also be a really big positive. Obviously, veterans have to develop the capacity and know how to accomplish priorities on time in spite of tremendous stress. And they also know the importance of staying with a task until it's done right. Diversity and inclusion can be a good one as well, because they're working side by side with a lot of individuals, regardless of race, gender, geographic origin, ethnic background, religion, economic status, mental and physical capabilities. So a whole multitude of things. And then they can bring that into your workforce. And then the last few are just things like being a self-starter, having that integrity you're looking for, and using creative problem-solving skills. So now that we've determined it's a good idea to seek out veterans to join your organization, we just want to leave you with some resources to begin building out an action plan. And there's just tons of programs in place to kind of help you do just that. For example, the Veterans Employment and Training Service is a one-stop location, and they connect employers with local, state, and federal veteran hiring resources. So they can help you create like a tailored plan to your organization's needs. And then the same kind of goes for the employer roadmap. It's a comprehensive and personalized resource that can help you build out a plan. And they work with the Chamber of Commerce's Hiring Our Heroes initiative and the USAA. Another important thing, just kind of looping back to those identifying transferable skills, is if you can know the codes, right, that the military uses, then you can more readily identify those transferable skills. And so we have some links through to that as well, where you can learn about those military codes and hopefully spot and see where those skills can transfer to your business a little bit easier. And then finally, just posting the jobs where veterans can find them, right? So there's a lot of different organizations that are built out to partner with veterans and to basically like job boards exclusively for veterans. So we just recommend giving those a shot. Moving on to another often overlooked candidate pool, we're going to be discussing hiring individuals with criminal records. Individuals with criminal records face various and numerous barriers to employment. Some of those second chance barriers include things like negative perceptions. 26% of hiring managers and 14% of HR professionals said they were unwilling to hire people with criminal records in a report from SHRM, or the Society for Human Resources Management. And that's even though 1/3 of working age US adults have a criminal record, which is a huge portion of the population, right? So many people with criminal records are underemployed or in insecure jobs. Now, while it's definitely reasonable to want to keep the workplace safe, it's also reasonable to make a true assessment of the risk before disqualifying someone automatically. And this idea is where the origin of the ban the box laws came from, which prohibit employers from asking about criminal history too early in the hiring process. So basically, these laws require employers to remove criminal history questions from the employment applications. And this has now been enacted in 37 states and in more than 150 cities and counties. Again, it's just put into place so that employers consider a job candidate's qualifications first without the stigma of a conviction or arrest record. So many employers are realizing that it's probably inappropriate to have a blanket ban on hiring anyone who's ever been convicted of a crime. After all, many crimes have nothing to do with someone's ability to perform the job at hand. And it may even be unlawful based on what we were just talking about with ban the box and the blanket policies there, since refusing to consider applicants on a case-by-case basis will likely exclude some protected classes more than others and could be deemed discriminatory due to disparate impact. So many employers may be concerned about the potential liability associated with hiring people with criminal histories. And while it's definitely a fair concern, the main thing employers need to understand is that not all former offenders actually present a risk. So it's actually best practice to equitably assess criminal history, right? So to avoid those blanket policies, we instead want to create policies that promote fair hiring practices. In particular, employers are encouraged to follow the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC's guidance. And the step-by-step they kind of give is to consider the nature and gravity of the crime, then consider the time that has passed since the crime or completion of the sentence. And you really want to look at the relationship of the crime to the worker's ability to perform the job without reasonable cause of harm to the organization. So those are kind of the big three that you'd want to take a look at when considering. And as a matter of fact, there are actually no studies supporting the idea that formerly incarcerated individuals pose a greater security threat. So it's also worth noting that all 50 states can offer insurance bonds to employers who hire risky populations through federal bonding programs under the Department of Labor. So another option for companies that are more risk averse. All right, so the benefits of hiring ex-convicts, it can be a population that is talented and eager to work, and often untapped, so they can bring some really great value to you as an employer. One of those things that they could bring would be increased productivity. So they're often found to be an incredibly hard working group, as they recognize that their opportunities are not as plentiful and oftentimes very limited. And therefore, they can definitely be more grateful for the chance to excel with an employer. Also reduced turnover. So employees with criminal records tend to stay on the job and remain loyal to employees who hire them. Actually, in 2 recent studies, human resources managers found that the annual turnover on average was 12.2% lower for employees with criminal records. And by adopting a program to recruit employees with criminal histories, it reduced turnover from 25% to 11%, which is very significant. And then partnering with different workforce development programs, which can help businesses ensure that workers get the help that they need, such as transportation to work at no cost to the employer, workplace skills, including interpersonal communication, organizational skills, leadership training, high school equivalency courses, case management, and all of those types of things, as well as the tax credits and subsidies that can come along with them. And we'll kind of talk about that once we cover all 3 groups. So the last section we're going to cover is just talking a little bit more about open and inclusive hiring for any additional benefits. So if you haven't heard of open hiring before, the concept is simple. Open hiring means no interviews, no background checks, no resumes. Individuals just put their name on a list, and when the next opening comes up, they get the job. So while open hiring certainly won't work for all employers, right? I'm sure people listening who are either in schools or financial institutions or transportation, other areas that have really rigorous requirements for background screenings, it's not an option, but it has proven very successful for certain industries and areas such as manufacturing, distribution centers, and certain sectors of retail. So some of the benefits included are reducing the time to hire, like really significantly, about 80% in a study done by Grayston which is the original company that started open hiring about 40 years ago. They're out of Yonkers, New York, and they're a bakery. And so they have now kind of created this institution that they have all around open and inclusive hiring and helping other businesses create a model that works for them. And so, yeah, they're a bakery and they work really closely with Ben and Jerry's. They actually put the brownies in Ben and Jerry's ice cream. And so they work closely also with Unilever and Rhino Foods, The Body Shop. Those are some other companies that are practicing this right now. And, you know, as you see the candidate pool getting harder and harder to pull from in 2022, there are more and more companies who are trying this as a viable option, because it can also reduce hiring costs, and then increase the positive perception and work culture and trust in the employer. And then lastly, generating an overall positive impact directly to the local community. So if any of this has piqued your interest, you can learn more about open or inclusive hiring at grayston.org/employers, and you can join their program, which provides mentoring, e-learning, an e-learning portal, data collection, recruitment services, and all those kinds of things that you would really need to get into place to consider a program that kind of replicates their open hiring or inclusive hiring model. Additionally, you can join the Getting Talent Back to Work movement. It's an initiative of the Society for Human Resources Management, or SHRM, and they are striving to build better opportunities for people with criminal records. And finally, again, just like with veterans, posting jobs in places that were created to reduce barriers to those with felonies. Okay, so finally, I'm going to discuss workers with disabilities today and how you can bring them into your organization, and the skills and talents that they can bring to your workplace. So people with disabilities definitely have lower rates of employment than the general population. And this is true despite people with disabilities often exemplifying the qualities employers seek, including adaptability and resourcefulness. And what's more is disability is diversity, and therefore a key component of workplace diversity, equity and inclusion, and accessibility. So fortunately, recruiting and hiring qualified people with disabilities doesn't have to be challenging, thanks to the many organizations supporting these efforts. And according to a recent Forbes article, there's 6 reasons why people with disabilities can offer your company a competitive advantage. So improving your company's bottom line, people with disabilities have been solving problems their whole life, you know, and they tend to have and bring a strong sense of loyalty to the workplace. So many large corporations such as CVS and Microsoft have told their stories about the benefits of hiring people with disabilities, and it has improved the overall bottom line, as well as leadership kind of focusing on the fact that their workforce reflects their consumer base, and that includes people with disabilities. Discovering untapped potential. So finding the right talent can be difficult, and if your organization isn't hiring people with disabilities, you're missing out on that vast untapped talent pool. Reduce turnover. So employers know turnover can be costly, and people with disabilities tend to seek stable and reliable work when they're searching for jobs, and therefore they're more likely to have higher retention rates. And this is yet another reason why hiring people with disabilities can be good for the bottom line, as well as improving company morale and overall culture. Expanding your consumer market. So people with disabilities make up one of the largest consumer market segments of the US. And, you know, one of the best ways to tap into that market segment would be through representation within the workplace. And, you know, especially I feel like this is happening more and more, people want to support companies that can meet their needs. And finally, If you are working as a federal contractor, or you are looking to or want to work as a federal contractor in the future, it can help you meet certain regulations. And under the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, it requires certain covered federal contractors and subcontractors to be proactive about recruiting and retaining workers with disabilities. So that can be a real advantage as well. And then again, at the end here, we're going to talk about how it has the tax credit advantage. But a few resources first. So if you're looking into hiring or recruiting those with disabilities, the Office of Disability Employment Policy has a ton of good resources. There's so many different organizations that are really great, assisting companies to basically learn the steps they can take to recruit and retain those qualified people with disabilities. And so there's different programs like the Employer Assistance and Resource Network on Disability Inclusion. So it's a free nationwide service that educates employers about effective strategies for recruiting, hiring, retaining, and advancing people with disabilities. They also maintain a list of job posting websites that's geared towards workers with disabilities. And they have a really good collection of success stories as well. So where you can kind of learn and advocate for hiring those with disabilities. So finally, we will cover the work opportunity tax credit. In addition to all the positive impacts we just discussed about hiring veterans, those with criminal records, and workers with disabilities, there is this added bonus of the ability to get a tax credit from hiring employees within these groups. So the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or WOTC, is a federal tax credit available to employers for hiring individuals from certain targeted groups who have consistently faced significant barriers to employment. And the WOTC can be claimed at any employer that hires and pays certain individuals who are certified by a designated local agency as being a member of one of the 10 targeted groups listed here. So there are definitely some other available groups that you could tap into for the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, but the three we are focusing on today are highlighted above. And in general, the WOTC is equal to 40% of up to $6,000 in wages paid to an individual who is in their first year of employment and is being certified as a member of a targeted group, and they need to perform at least 400 service hours for the employer. Thus, the maximum tax credit's generally around $2,400, which is an excellent added bonus. Okay, so now I'm going to pass the mic over to Sheri to review one more group often overlooked, and then cover some more tips and tricks for resourceful hiring.
Thank you, Sarah, and good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And I really wanted to do this particular section because I fall into this older workers category. Recent statistics from the U.S. Census Bureau show that by 2030, which is not that far away, 1/5 of all U.S. residents are going to be older than 65. So people are living longer, remaining in the workplace, and putting off retirement as the cost of living has gone up, and many still need the income. So it's really critical for an employer to take note of the value of older workers, the value older workers can bring to the organization. So there's a myth propagated by the retirement industry that people over the age of 65 should retire. But many people, particularly those who have enjoyed long and meaningful careers, do like to work. In the wise words of Stephen Hawkins, work gives you meaning and purpose, and life is empty without it. And I could not agree more. So, I mean, if you think about it, looking at some of the top and most famous CEOs, look at somebody like Jeff Bezos, who's 58, Bill Gates is 66, Michael Bloomberg is 80, Warren Buffett is 91, and I don't think anybody would say that these people do not bring value to their organizations, even at that advanced age. So it's really important for employers to recognize the benefits of attracting and retaining older workers in today's global economy. There's many advantages to hiring older workers. First is the loyalty and stability. They're more settled, not as likely to jump jobs when the next sweet offer comes down the pike. They have decision-making skills, which is an obvious benefit of older workers because of the experience and skills they bring to the job. An experienced worker can hit the ground running and be effective right away. They also have honed those critical thinking skills that can help them make solid decisions in a timely fashion without hand-holding and second-guessing. They come with a good attitude. Older workers are proactive, positive, and practical without hand-holding and, oh, sorry, whoops, misread that. The big life challenges are behind them. So this is their time in life where they can focus their energy on the jobs, and they really love their work with a focus that wasn't possible maybe at a younger age. They tend to be more collaborative. The experienced workers are well versed in the payback of reaching out to others from multiple disciplines, ages, and backgrounds for their insights and input, and they really value teamwork. Oops, sorry, just went right ahead there. Older workers will also bring in some leadership skills. So as Sarah mentioned earlier, you might not be hiring them in a leadership capacity, but workers who have been at it for a few decades are often good leaders, in large part due to their intrinsic communication skills. A lot of them have essential skills in networks that will benefit the organization. They often have greater management, marketing, and finance experience and richer and deeper industry knowledge. Productivity. Age diversity improves organizational performance. Studies have found that the productivity of both older workers and younger workers is higher in companies with mixed age work teams. And finally, mentors. Older workers really play a vital role in providing skills to younger people in the workplace, and the learning goes both ways. For each generation riffs off the other to create a workplace where you really want to be on the playing field. So let's talk about a few resources, because again, if you're looking to hire older workers, you need to be a little bit more targeted in your approach. So AARP Senior Community Service Employment Program can help make connections between older job seekers and employers. So for more than 45 years, AARP has been providing employers with pre-screened qualified candidates to fill vacant positions with no cost or risk to employers. So a lot of benefits there. You also want to look at a more targeted recruitment activities. So because many older workers are not actively seeking employment, you really need to use a more focused, visible form of recruitment. So some ideas for effective targeted activities would include maintaining a connection with prior employees by creating an alumni social networking option on sites like LinkedIn or Facebook. Employers can host periodic social events for these alumni networks, where the company may be able to entice some of these older workers to fill the organization's staffing needs. You can also create recruiting partnerships with organizations that specialize in helping older workers locate work, including AARP's Life Reimagined for Work program, American Society for Aging's Career Advantage, the Senior Community Service Employment Program, and community colleges in the 50+ Encore Completion Program. Consider posting jobs in locations where mature job seekers are likely to look. This can include organizations targeted to 50+ demographic, such as AARP and Senior Job Bank, as well as social media groups. And then finally, publicize your efforts on to have an age diverse workforce. Older workers can improve workplace diversity, as Sarah mentioned earlier, and inclusion, and make an employer more competitive as an organization. And they're better able to connect with a growing base of older customers, because don't forget, not only are your workers aging, so is your customer base. So you really want to make sure, so older workers can help you focus in on attracting that older customer base. These efforts will have a really positive impact on your employer brand as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about other candidate sources that you may not have looked at before. So one of the things you can look at is targeted social media groups. There are so many groups depending on industry. Those of us who are in the HR field can be part of groups with SHRM or with here in New England, NARA, the New England Human Resource Association, and other types of professional associations. Check nonprofit organizations. I know that I've done a lot of work with the North Shore United Way, and they're always happy to connect businesses with some of the nonprofit organizations that they work with to help foster employment. Don't forget those trade and technical schools, not just the trade and technical colleges, but even the trade and technical high schools. A lot of those trade and technical high schools have their kids do internships, or they could fill some of your night and weekend work. And then with the trade and technical schools at the after high school level, you can really find some very skilled workers. Don't forget about any kind of networking events. And then campus recruiting is still a great way to find good quality candidates. So let's talk a little bit about some other candidate sourcing tips. Times have really changed. And because the job market is so tight right now, there is just everybody has got a now hiring sign up. It's really important to stand out. So be creative. If you're just doing the same old thing and posting jobs on Indeed or in Monster or other job boards, and you haven't changed what you're doing, think about it. So I picked a few here that I thought were kind of fun and definitely eye-catching. They caught my eye. But don't forget, especially a lot of the younger workers who are more apt to be on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, social media, they will really be attracted by something that catches their eye. So I love this first one, top left. If you're an experienced bartender and you can decipher this babble, we'd like to hear from you. It took me a while to figure this out because I'm not a bartender, but I think he says, I think I will have one more before I go home. Top right, don't wait for a job to fall on you. It's just, this is such an eye-catching ad. And then bottom left, this is my favorite. This is a great ad. As long as kids get evenings and weekends off, so will you. Boy, let's talk about benefits, right? You'll never take your work home with you. In fact, it could be illegal, or would be illegal, and then make $16.25 an hour doing what most parents do for free. So again, this is just, they get all of their talking points out in this one fun graphic. And then finally, there are 10 mistakes in this ad. And if you believe you're a great graphic designer with an eye for detail, spot these mistakes, then send us your feedback. And I think this is a great way to get people engaged. And also gives you it gives you a leg up from others who are just posting on the job boards. Another great thing to try is a QR code. And you've probably seen these everywhere. If you have been through COVID, especially going to restaurants, a lot of times they don't have paper menus anymore. They're using QR codes. So you can look it up on your smartphone. Recently, I've been doing some traveling and I'm finding the same thing in hotels. There's no longer that booklet in the room that gives you the room service menu and all the numbers for different services in the hotel. There's a QR code there. I created this QR code in about 2 minutes. It was super easy. It was free online. My Gen Z daughter did warn me that the QR codes do sometimes expire. So I did check this. It does work. If you hold your smartphone up to this QR code, it'll take you to MP's career site. Because PS, we're hiring as well as everybody else. The other thing I really loved, and hang on, let me make sure I've shared my sound because these are really fun. The other thing to consider is doing videos. So some of these videos can be on your website, some of them can be on YouTube, and you can have them, you can attach them to a QR code. And I love this one. This is a camp called Galileo, and they do their job postings as videos. So I'm going to run this right now.
So the operations coordinator is an extremely multifaceted job.
The operations coordinator
helps with a lot of the behind the scenes things. And then they also help with the customer service aspect.
So you are the office manager of the camp, but then you're also the main customer service specialist that is interacting with the parents. You manage check-in, so making sure that kids come in, parents feel comfortable about leaving them there and ensuring that they go to the right classroom. The operations coordinator is that main person that the parents can come to with concerns in terms of enrollment, general behavior issues, and any other concerns that they have. You manage campers' lunch schedules. You are responsible for the professional development of summer interns, so it really requires you to dip your toes in every aspect of camp. So you need to know all the materials that are being used in each classroom, but you also need to know what is going on with one camper who maybe is having a rough week that week.
They're the ones who are supporting campers who are homesick or campers who have small injuries and need a little extra attention to feel better and get back out there playing.
Camp is not just somewhere that parents feel comfortable about leaving their students, but somewhere that they feel their kids will actually be able to learn.
I think for me, Galileo has not just fostered my innovation, but also kind of reminded me that there's always new things to learn, always new approaches to take, and ways to grow.
Okay, and that, I mean, what is so incredible about ads like this, when you're doing those short videos, is that a potential applicant can really see themselves in that role, in that position, and they can sort of get a feel for what life would look like in that job. This other one by IKEA I thought was absolutely brilliant. This is just another way to get the word out that you are, that you're hiring. Okay, we're going to skip that one, but I will explain to you that what they did was they put their now hiring papers in all of their flat packs. So when their customer gets home, which is probably also a great candidate pool for them, and they open that flat pack to build their item, there's a sheet in there that says, come work for us. I know years ago when I worked in retail, we used to do that as bag stuffers when we were hiring. We would, because our customers were oftentimes some of our best candidates. Take a look also at some online communities and platforms. So in addition to the big job boards like Indeed and Monster, there's a lot of these online communities where you can connect with passive candidates with specific skill sets. Right now, it really need to not just focus on those people who are out there looking for a job, but those who are not out there looking currently, but would be a great fit. So these are just a few examples, but if you're looking for developers, GitHub and Stack Overflow are where developers come together. Both platforms create a direct link to technical talent, allowing you to contact developers. If you're hiring designers or other creative talents, Dribbble or Behance is the best place to go. Professionals showcase their work with a portfolio that's open for you to see. That makes it easy for you to find the best creative talent. In addition to finding and contacting designers, you can also post your job straight on their platform. And are you a startup looking for top talent? AngelList provides access to 2.3 million different candidates that are open to working in a startup environment. And for those of you in startup businesses, you know that it takes a very unique temperament and personality and skill set to work in a startup. And don't forget those offline sourcing channels. Yes, you've got to focus on social media and you've got to be up on the technology, but there are still low-tech offline face-to-face opportunities to find your talent pool. So consider attending job or industry-specific conferences and events. Host your own events to bring together groups of people you'd like to meet. We actually have two of the HR partners on our team actually came to us through other events that we had that connected us with these candidates. You can attend networking events and utilize your employees' networks as well. MP provides our employees with some backdrops and things to put on our LinkedIn page and our LinkedIn profiles. So that way our networks know what jobs are available here. Let's see. And then, excuse me, one of the things a lot of companies overlook is their company career site. I know in my role here at MP, one of the first things I do when I get a new client is I go to their website. I go to their About Us page. And a lot of times the About Us page is focusing a little bit on the history and maybe what they do for their customers and clients. But you also want to look at it through that candidate lens as well, because a candidate needs to kind of see themselves in the position fitting into your company. Excuse me. I know on our site, we have a few select videos of some of the MPers that you can learn a little bit about us and why we love our jobs so much. And it's a great way to again, let people get a feel for what it would be like to work here. So the company career site is really important. Even if you don't have jobs to post on your career site, a career resources section can be the best place to provide more information about your company mission and values, benefits and perks, employee testimonials, news and information, blogs, and access to company social media profiles. So look at it as a marketing tool for candidates. Think of your career page, this career site is for Galileo, that same camp, summer camp. And as you can see, there isn't a ton of information on here, but they were very thoughtful with what they included on this page. So notice the heading in the top left corner, learn something new every day. This wording is tailored to inform candidates of what they are going to get out of the job. So you're tapping into that what's in it for me mindset of the candidate instead of just listing the qualities that the employer is looking for. Next, you'll notice in the bottom left corner, it says not a one summer fits all approach. And this gets into the flexible schedules, which is really a huge selling point for some potential candidates. And then we have the video content, which really shows candidates what it's like to work for the company and allows them to better picture themselves in that environment. And then on the bottom, we have the employee testimonials that showcase employee engagement and happiness in their role. So as you can see, the content on this page is really intended to pique the interest of the candidate by showing them a variety of positions, positive aspects of working for their company. Okay, one other thing to consider is the candidate experience. This is sort of your report card from past candidates and prospective talent on how well they were treated and communicated with during your hiring process. Now that we're in a social recruiting environment, that report card is posted all over social media for the world to see, and you want the world to see you positively. So be sure to check out your company reviews on sites like Glassdoor and Indeed to get feedback on your candidate experience. Some of the most common complaints from candidates about their job hunting include overly long applications, lack of confirmation emails, inability to contact recruiters, no notice if or when the position is filled, in a lengthy hiring process. So use that feedback to really make your process a little smoother and a little bit more candidate focused. Apply for a job. Seriously, and go through your company's application process as if you were a candidate to really gain insight into that candidate experience. This past summer, as my daughter was applying for jobs, she actually went on to apply for a local business. It was a dollar store near us, and there were 28 questions to answer about, your how you would do this, that, or the other thing in their company. She got through about half of it, and I said, okay, really, this is not a company that values your time, and they really need to see you as a person, not a piece of paper, and not just answers to questions. So really go through that application process yourself to see what it looks like. And finally, and I think most importantly, your job postings need to stand out among the plethora of employers hiring for the same positions. It's really common for employers to post their job descriptions rather than using the job ad as a tool to engage prospective candidates. So job descriptions are really an internal document, identifies the essential skills and job responsibilities, qualifications, skills required. It talks about working conditions and physical demands. The job descriptions are probably one of the most important things when we work with clients. It's one of the things we focus on even more so than maybe even employee handbooks, because the job description really starts you out with everything from in the employment life cycle, from hiring to firing and everything in between. Job ads, on the other hand, sell the position. You do want to make sure that the qualifications and skills required are listed in there, but you also want to focus on your company culture. Make sure there's contact information. Make sure they know where the location is. They're simple things, but take a look. I really would encourage you, if you are looking to post a job, go onto some of these job boards, put in the job title, and then look at other postings. See which ones put you to sleep and which ones piqued your interest, and then use those sort of as a model. Okay, with that, we usually go into a Q&A, but we didn't have any questions come in. So we're going to give you 9 minutes of your day back. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm going to throw it back to Katie to take us home.
Thank you so much, Sheri and Sarah. Lots of valuable information on a complex topic. The MPHR team is here to guide your organization on any HR compliance issues. If you'd like to learn more about how we can assist your organization, please visit our website to set up a short 15-minute call. Visit our website to register and to see the full calendar of upcoming events and available resources. We will be sending out a recording of today's webinar with the presentation slides this afternoon. Thanks for joining us and have a terrific day.